I'm not here to put forth my agenda to the city of El Paso. I'm here to listen to all of you. So if the city of El Paso says, hey, I don't mind tightening my belt a little bit, for the greater cause of public safety, I don't mind paying a little bit more in taxes so police officers can take a few minutes or to ask that question to people who've already broken the law, then I stand by you. But that's a decision that has to be made by all of you, not by somebody like me or anybody sitting at this table.
So how do you come to that decision if El Paso is, that's what El Paso wants?
If that's what El Paso wants and it's no rolling vote where say this is what we want, then we need to start putting into process the implementation to try and make it so the tax burden is as minimal as possible, but that it works for the overall city.
Strike the match, the issue has been united. But for the fact that we're not in Iowa, where the issue would probably be openly discussed, and were we in Iowa and being from El Paso as we were, I don't think that we'd be taken very seriously on any issue, especially on the issue of immigration, where most people believe that the position that El Paso is taking has been a cop-out position. And the truth is that the federal government has relaxed in its responsibilities to the community here in El Paso and across the border. And throughout the United States, we expect the illegal entry of some individuals to choose to enter illegally because they don't have the patience to enter legally. And if it becomes necessary for El Paso Police Department to work in conjunction with federal law that is passed, which is doubtful that federal law under the immediate future will come about that will require the participation of El Paso in the issue, I would support the federal government enforcement of that policy as it seems appropriate for it to do.
Okay, so they came to the country illegally. Well, they need to be behaving themselves. If they here illegally, they need to be behaving themselves if they're here illegally. With that being said, I don't believe extra resources need to be going to El Paso Police Department so they can be chasing these people that may or may not be here legally. So once you get busted, with your bag of pot or a DWI or beating your wife or whatever it is that you're going to jail for, I don't see how the tax increase will be, will be implemented. All it takes is a phone call. You call the immigration guy and say, we have one for you, come pick them up. In fact, it'll probably save us money because we don't have to keep them in our jail anymore. Deal with them. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it's very easily solved without any kind of tax increase. It's just a simple phone call, and if they're here illegally, they shouldn't be misbehaving to begin with because they've already brought fire to themselves.
To me, this is a very difficult issue, and one that I think we all know it's a federal issue, and one in which our federal government needs to address. It's also a state issue, and when I sat down with Joe Pickett the other day, and when I asked him what the probability of this type of legislation passing was, he said, Courtney, it's not if, it's when. And I said, interesting. I said, but where's the money coming from? We obviously, the state of Texas is operating at a loss, and we don't have the resources to employ the police officers that we need right now. So I'm concerned about this issue, and it's one that I intend on studying because we are a border town. Whether we like it or not, we have a sister city in Juarez, and we are affected by what goes on over there. For every 10 jobs that's created in Juarez, 2 jobs are created here. That's important to us. So it's imperative that we study this issue and move forward. And if you feel strongly about one way or another, you need to reach out to your local representatives and you need to tell them how you feel so that they can vote based upon what their constituents want them to do.
They don't. Okay, very good. We have 2 more questions. Jorge gets this first. Yes or no? Should soda and other sugar drinks be taxed in an effort to stop obesity?
It's unfortunate that Representative Hogan has left because when the issue came up to City Hall and being the chairman of the Health Committee for the City of El Paso, he chose when questions put to him to conduct the issue and say that he preferred not to answer the question because it pertained to his concept with the functionality of the Big Brother is. Truth is, it isn't a Big Brother issue, it's about health, welfare, citizens of the community. And it seems that if the citizens choose to indulge as they have chosen to indulge, to the extent that in spite of all the efforts of the schools here in El Paso make to keep their children physically active, that in spite of that effort on their part, that their children nevertheless are in a position of obesity, then perhaps we should undertake the additional taxation of those items that contribute to that obesity so that children stay in the condition they are when they're required to be so under the guidelines of the state, as opposed on the schools to mandate that they be at the minimum at a physical capacity, but for that minimum, the children wouldn't even obtain that.
First of all, we shouldn't be in the hands of government to control what you're eating at home. I personally stay away from the sweets and the sodas because I know that stuff's not any good for me. And I trust you do the same. But if you want your kids drinking sodas and eating candy at home, let them do what they want under their own home. It's the products are there for you to use them. And like Mrs. Nillen says here, I'm gonna put my economist hat on. Let's say you do raise the tax on a kid. How's that gonna affect the local grocery store guy who's running a small corner business? Is he gonna sell more candies because the price of candy went up? I don't think so. And something like that would hurt small business. And we must not forget that small business is the backbone of our economy. Thank you.
No. I'm tired of our local government meddling in our lives. I want a plastic bag. I know some people don't, but if you read Chris Lopez's poll the other day from the El Paso Times, the majority of El Pasoans want the option to have a plastic bag. They also don't want to pay 3 times to invest in solar. I think that what's wrong with our city today, our local government, is they're getting way too involved in our lives and not enough involved in our local economy. And that's what I want
to know. Soda question, that's a good one too. You know what, for the United States has had a policy over the last 20 or 30 years that they kind of control you or us in the form of taxes. What do you mean? Well, let me just give you an example. I'm not a smoker, but I used to be. Thank God that I'm not anymore, because a pack of cigarettes I think is like $6 now. Why is that? I think the place of government is to make sure that we have what we need, and it's got to be up to us whether or not we choose to smoke, drink soda, or have chips. Now, I have 2 kids and I have 1 on the way, and when I sit down with my little girl in front of the TV for 20, 30 minutes a day to watch TV, I have a choice to give her a donut or a bowl of beans. I'm going to go with the beans, okay? Because let me tell you, it's the job of the parent to control obesity, not the government. Okay? If your child's becoming obese, turn off the video games. Send them outside to play. Go outside. There's sunlight. Many kids don't even know that there's a sun outside. Honestly, okay? That's not the place where government needs to be. Now, my home is my home, and I run it the way I see fit. Okay? But I'm not going to have somebody telling me what I can or cannot give my child. My child's not obese because I don't give her the junk that she doesn't need. So to answer the kind of a long-winded answer, no, I completely do not support that we should tax certain things like this. It's my responsibility, not anybody else's.
All right, last question, and we'll have closing remarks. Sergio, you get the first crack at this. Please give us your opinion on the privatization of garbage collection.
Well, I do know from my training in economics that once you allow privatization, you open the doors to competition. And competition is always good because it provides efficiency. With that being said, I think the skills I possess would allow me to sit down and analyze which one would be most beneficial to the residents of El Paso in the form of lower fees. Would it be the current system we have now, or would it be the new system? That I can't answer at the moment. But I know if I sit down and I look at the numbers and I see which one is best for the people, that's what I'm going to have to go with. Thank you.
Flow control. I think this is another magic marketing issue. I think that the layman or anyone, unless you're involved in city government, sometimes doesn't know exactly what someone's talking about when they say flow control. One asset that I think I bring to the table is I don't pretend to know everything about sanitation, education, transportation, but what I do know is that I can bring smart people to the table and figure out what's right and wrong for El Paso. So on this particular issue, I actually cold called J.O. Stewart and I said, can I come sit in your office and can we talk about this from your perspective? He said, absolutely, Courtney, come on down. Then I called Joyce Wilson and I said, can I come sit in your office and can I hear about this from your perspective? She said, absolutely, Courtney, come on down. After I did that, I pulled the archives, I read everything I needed to read about this issue. And I stand here saying today, we are getting ripped off. It's ridiculous. And what they are doing is they decided that they were going to be better. The local city government decided that they were going to be better at sanitation than the private sector. This is exactly what's missing in El Paso, a great relationship between the private sector and the public sector. If you look at other municipalities, that's why they're doing so well. We decided to spend $20 million of our taxpayers' funding to reopen the McCombs plant in order to, once again, process trash at $26 a ton. When we could have stayed in a relationship with Waste Connections, who was willing to offer us $3 million to our general fund, and all the businesses, commercial trash, that's being taken away and dumped in the Camino Real dump would have been processed at $9 a ton. That's not fair to El Paso businesses. They can't afford to keep having these taxes and these rates constantly increase on them. If you look at why businesses didn't come here last year, it's not because we have a bad reputation. It's not because we're next to Juarez. It's because our electricity rates and our property taxes and these constant fees, us deciding we know better how to do things in the private sector, it's putting us out of business. And it's got to stop. So, me, I would have fought for us.
Okay. Flow control. Flow control. That's been a real big issue. Don't let the glasses fool you. I'm kind of a bookworm. And I went out and did my research on this. Okay? And this is a while ago. Here's, for those of you who don't know, here's the issue. Okay? Flow control says this. Right now, Camino Real handles about 80 to 90% of commercial trash in the city. There are some numbers that say it's more like 60%, others that say it's 70%. Either way, they take a good bulk of it. The flow control says that, well, the reason flow control came about is because the state of New Mexico, because that's where the landfill is located, Sunny Park, New Mexico, the state of New Mexico kind of put an injunction on the Camino Real dump and not granted them a permit to stay open for another 15 or 20 years. Right now, they have they got a permit extended for 1 year, and they're in the appeals process, which could take up to 4 or 5 years to see whether or not they can stay open. Well, if we're not sure whether or not they can stay open, the city started saying, well, look, if they're not going to be open, then we need to have some sort of a backup plan. Now, there's two sides to the argument, okay? One side of the argument says, look, if the city takes over and mandates that all the trash goes to city landfills, then you're going to have a monopoly and you're going to eliminate competition. Well, the city says, well, look, if you stay with the current provider that you have now and they don't stay open, what are we going to do? So here's where I come back to what I said originally, is compromise. Now, I don't think anybody here shies away from competition, because when you have two competitive entities, the consumer is who benefits. So what I would say is, look, if you want to give the businesses the choice, because that's the biggest argument, is you're taking away choice from the consumer. Give them the choice. Give them the two options, okay? And have El Paso do freeze on fees, except for inflation, of course, and create that competitive atmosphere that everybody keeps talking about. You eliminate competition from the city, or you eliminate competition from the private sector, then you have no competition. Okay? So what I propose is this, okay? Let's not do one way or the other, because we need to be able to take care of ourselves if the time comes that we have no more landfill in Summit Park. Open them both up, okay? And let's create that atmosphere where the consumer benefits rather than one person over the other. This is what I'm talking about. You have to look at everything from every point of view. And based on all the given evidence, come to a deductive logic and say, this is the best for the city. Not for the city, for the people of the city, excuse me, for our constituents, for the business owners. That's how we need to address this issue. It's not one way or the other. Thank you.
Okay, Jorge.
Thank you. First, before I begin my answer to the question, I want to thank the creator of Also Fucking Women for hosting this event. I think it's been very beneficial for them and for myself as a candidate. However, the truth is that the policy of economics, just the position that Bernie laid out, that it's either one way or the other. The truth is that it's a combination of the two. That government oftentimes needs cooperation of private business for to conduct service the government should provide. And one of the services the government should provide is collection of trash. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to start with Jorge, and we're going to do our closing arguments. Jorge, what are your touches?
As I have already said, I want to thank all of you who are here present for taking the time, Curtis being here present, and I hope that anything that I have said with respect to the issues that you felt were endearing to your selection in the process for the vote that you will give to the individual who you choose to be your vote on council have been helpful with regards to those issues that you have risen with respect to the presentation of them. And I hope that when the decision is made by you for that selection, that you make the selection that is most satisfying to you. Thank you.
Hi, once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. You could have been anywhere in this world and you chose to come today. Now, even though I think maybe 2 of you could vote for us, I'm pretty sure that these issues that were presented to us are pretty relevant. And again, why was I running for District 8 representative? Well, it's a place I lived in my whole life. It's a place I really care for. And there's nothing more I'd like to see than the city progress and move forward and be the vibrant place that I know it can be. I could have been anywhere in this world, and I chose to stay here, and I really want to see the best outcome for the city, whether it's anybody. I'd like to thank them for coming also.
I too would like to thank you again for coming today. I appreciate it. I joked with some of you earlier and saying spending your Saturday morning with a bunch of politicians cannot have been the top one on your list. But I appreciate the fact that you guys were willing to come out and listen to what we have to say. I hope after hearing me speak today, you have a little bit better idea of who I am and what I stand for. I am available via email. I'm available on my phone. I write my own thank you notes. I want to represent not only District 8, but everyone in our community, our El Paso community. I'm doing this because I know I can make a difference, and I know I can be the catalyst that helps move us forward. My platform's real simple. It's fiscal responsibility. I have a degree in economics, as I mentioned earlier. I'm a banker's daughter. I'm a financial advisor. I know how to look at numbers. I know how to study numbers, and I know how to make sure we're spending every dollar responsibly for you. Second, job creation and retention. Fundamentally, I think this is what's missing in El Paso. If you look at El Paso, one of the different demographics that's missing is the young individuals that recently just graduated from UTEP or El Paso Community College that are looking for a job. They can't find those jobs. They do have to leave. And that's not right. We need that demographic. We need every demographic. And in order, I believe the best way you can create jobs is by investing in employers and businesses that are already here. They're paying into the tax base. They already have a vested interest. And if we can make it easier for them to grow from a local government perspective, then they can create the jobs that we need to help us move forward. Lastly, transparency. I think it's imperative that we start communicating with our constituents. If you go to my website, you can see the Trans Mountain video, and once you see it, I think you might have a different perspective on it. I think you might have a different perspective on lots of different things, because it gets back to just communicating with our constituents and letting them know what's really going on and how we're really spending your money. So once again, to close, I thank you very much. And if you vote for me on May 14th, I will make you very proud of the decision you made, and I will work hard to improve the lives of all of us.
Bless you. Just like everybody else, I want to share the sentiment. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very grateful to be here and get to speak with all of you today. Just like Ms. Nyland was saying, I'm one of those, up in, new demographics, regionally graduated from UTEP. And one of the things that I noticed, getting back to where I started with, is there's no diversity in industry here. And when I go out and speak to people, when I go knocking on doors, they always ask me the same thing. Well, how are you going to change that? Because that's a pretty lofty goal, to say that you want to bring in more high-tech jobs. Well, the answer is very simple. It's actually not a lofty goal.